5. Buddhayasas of Chang'an during the Jin dynasty. Buddhayasas, or Juming in Chinese, was a native of Jiban from a Brahmin family, which was inclined to a non-Buddhist religion for generations. Once, a Buddhist Sramana begged for food from his family. His father was annoyed and made people hit the monk. Afterwards, the father's hands and feet kept twitching, so he could not walk or sleep. Asking the wizard, he replied, "Having offended the sage, spirits make this happen to you." Thus inviting the Sramana back, the father repented in front of him. The problem ceased accordingly. Thereupon he let 13-year-old Buddhayasas join the Buddhist order and be this Sramana's disciple. Buddhayasas traveled with his master frequently. One time, they met a tiger in the wilderness. The master wanted to avoid it. However, the disciple said, "The tiger has eaten his fill and will not attack us." Soon, the tiger left without harming them. Continuing onward, they saw some chewed bones, and the master was surprised. By the time Buddhayasas was 15, he could recite sutras of 20 to 30,000 words per day. Most monks in the temple spent a great deal of time begging for alms, thus they were left uncultivated. An arhat appreciated Buddhayasas' intelligence and continuously offered food to him. At the age of 19, he had recited sutras of millions of words, both from Mahayana and Hinayana traditions. This led him to have a simple and conceited character, because he was satisfied with his knowledge and said he could be teacher at such young age. Whereupon the monks did not like him. In addition, his elegance and communication skills made the ones who met him jealous. He thus remained a novice until an age close to 30, because no one would ordain him at the age monks usually took precepts. He learned the 5 fields of ancient Indian, learning from his uncle, and widely practiced worldly skills. At 27, he was finally accepted to have ordination. In these years, he constantly recited the doctrines, never letting the textbooks leave his hands. When he sat and practiced mindfulness, he regretted that time flew away and that he did not make enough progress. That is how diligently he cultivated. Later, he went to the kingdom of Kasal. The king was critically ill, and 3,000 monks were invited for assembly rituals. Buddhayasas was one of them. Dharmaputra, or Fazi, the crown prince at the time, saw Buddhayasas was dignified and elegant and asked from where he came. Buddhayasas answered the questions with clear thinking. Hence, the prince was fond of him and invited him to stay in the palace, so he could generously provide him with offerings. Later on, Kumarajiva arrived in Kasal and studied under Buddhayasas. They highly respected each other. Afterwards, Kumarajiva then returned to Kucha with his mother. While Buddhayasas stayed, the king soon died, and the crown prince succeeded to the throne. Shortly afterwards, Fujian sent Liu Guang to conquer Kucha. The king of the target country was in great trouble and asked for help from Kasal. The king of Kasal thus led a troop to rescue his ally and ordered Buddhayasas to stay to assist the prince, entrusting him with his testament. Before the Kasal troop arrived, Kucha had already been defeated. When the king of Kasal returned, he told Buddhayasas how Kumarajiva was taken by Liu Guang. Buddhayasas lamented, "Although I had been with Kumarajiva for a long time, I never got to know his will. Now that he is suddenly captured, I do not know when we can meet again." After Buddhayasas stayed in Kasal for over 10 years, he moved eastwards to Kucha and made Buddhism flourish there. At that time, Kumarajiva wrote to him from Guzhang, asking him to come for meeting. Buddhayasas thereupon prepared rations for the journey and was about to leave. The Kasal people urged him to stay, thus he stayed for another year or so. Later on, he told his disciple, "I want to look for Kumarajiva. We can disguise ourselves and depart at night secretly. The disciple said, I am afraid that people will chase after us after dawn, and then we will have to come back again. Buddhayasas hence fetched a bowl of water, put some medicine in it, and recited a mantra that was a few dozen words long. He then had his disciple wash his feet with the water. Immediately they departed under darkness, traveling hundreds of miles by the morning. Buddhayasas asked his disciple, What did you feel? The disciple replied, I just heard the sound of wind, and the wind dried my eyes. Again, the master gave the water to the disciple to wash his feet, and they settled for a rest. On the second day, when people in Kasal were sent for them, it was too far for them to catch up. When Buddhayasas arrived in Guzang, Kumarahiva had already gone to Chang'an. The master heard that Kumarahiva had been forced to marry, and to do things against the precepts, lamented loudly, Kumarahiva is like the finest silk. How could it be put in a thorn bush? As Kumarahiva learned of Buddhayasas' arrival in Guzang, he requested that Yao Xing invite him over, but Yao Xing did not approve. Soon after, Yao Xing asked Kumarahiva to translate scriptures, and the latter said, the transmission of the Buddha's teachings should expound the meanings thoroughly. Though I can recite the canon, I am not versed in the logics and reasons. Only Buddhayasas in Guzang comprehends the subtle meanings. Please make a decree to invite him to come here and review every word, so that the logics and reasons will not be distorted but be trustworthy in even 1,000 years. This time, Yao Xing listened to the advice and sent for Buddhayasas with generous presents. However, the invitee did not accept the presents, saying, Since His Majesty requests my presence, I should take the carriage and go forth. This Dhanapati is generous and respectful to Buddhists. Yet if he treated me like he treated Kumarahiva, I would not be able to obey. The envoy returned and passed the words of Buddhayasas to Yao Xing. The emperor admired his vigilance and once again stated his sincerity. Then Buddhayasas came to Chang'an. Yao Xing welcomed him in person and built a new mansion for him in Shaoyao Garden, offering food, clothes, bedding, and medicine, among other things. Nevertheless, Buddhayasas did not accept anything but a meal per day. During that time, Kumarahiva had translated the sutra on the 10 stages a month prior but was not sure about the rendering. Thereupon he could not confirm it. Upon the arrival of Buddhayasas, the two of them debated to determine the meanings. Over 3,000 monks and laymen were impressed by the precision of the translation and rendering. Buddhayasas had a red beard and was good at commenting on Vibhasa, so his contemporaries called him the Red Vibhasa. Since Buddhayasas was Kumarahiva's teacher, he was also called the Great Vibhasa. The offerings of clothes, food, bedding, and other things from Buddhists piled up in 3 rooms, which were never a care for him. Yao Xing later sold these items and built a temple in the south of the city. Buddhayasas could recite the Dharmagupta Vinaya. Yao Shuang, the inspection supervisor of the later Qin government, thus asked him to translate it. But Yao Xing doubted that he could memorize it properly, so he tested him by requesting him to recite the Chang ethnic medicine classics, which were 50,000 words in length. 2 days later, he took the original text and compared it with Buddhayasas' dictation. There were no errors at all. Everyone was amazed by his memory. Therefore, the 4-part Vinaya of 44 fascicles was translated in the 12th year of the Hongxi period. In addition, the Durgagama was also translated. Zhu Fonian, a monk of Liangzhou, rendered it into Chinese, and Daohan recorded it in writing. When the project was closed in the 15th year of the Hongxi period, Yao Xing offered 10,000 bolts of cloth and silk to Buddhayasas, but the latter refused. The emperor also gave Daohan and Zhu Fonian 1,000 bolts and then generously rewarded the 500 contributing monks as well. Later, Buddhayasas returned to a foreign country. When he acquired a copy of the Akasagarbha Sutra of one fascicle, he sent it to monks in Liangzhou through traders. His whereabouts afterwards were unknown.